Imagine how the world could be so very fine, so happy together. I can't see me loving nobody but you.
What's up, guys? It's Benny. A lot of people made fools of themselves over the past few days by melting down, freaking out, panicking, disavowing MAGA, or debasing themselves entirely and warmongering on behalf of a foreign nation. Totally humiliating, all of it embarrassing, and ladies and gentlemen, it could have been avoided if they just understood one thing, which is the Trump Doctrine. As a top student and observer of the Trump Doctrine, let me elucidate for you what it is. This is how President Trump deals with foreign problems. It's called talking. It's a special art form. Donald Trump is not to be pushed around. He's going to be the one pushing. Let's check the date here on this post. This is less than a year in office. President Trump was being aggressed on by North Korea. Kim Jong-un kept bragging about his nuclear program and trying to detonate nuclear weapons. Donald Trump didn't like that. He took that personally. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un just stated that the nuclear button on his desk is there at all times. Will someone from his depleted and food-starved regime please inform him that I too have a nuclear button, but it's much bigger and more powerful than his, and my button actually works? At the time, the freak out over this was ear-piercing. The shrieking from our chattering classes, from our educated elites, from our Ivy League, and all of the pontificators on TV was at a pitch that would make your ears bleed. Everyone said that Donald Trump was about to get us into war with North Korea. He was destroying decades of diplomacy with North Korea by sending a tweet like this. Guess who was wrong, ladies and gentlemen? Guess what happened next? President Trump was invited into North Korea. First Western leader ever. In fact, President Trump is, as far as I know, the only leader who's actively at war with the country to be invited into the country and welcomed and clapped on the back by the dictator. Donald Trump is at war with America's at war with North Korea as this is happening. So you'd be wise to just study the way that Trump does business. Look at this historic moment. The world changed forever in this historic moment. Listen to Donald Trump call Kim Jong-un his friend.
My friend.
반갑습니다.
Good to see you again.
이런 데서 각하를 만나게 될 줄 생각 못했습니다.
I've never expected to meet you at this place.
That's good. That's my honor. Would you like me to step across?
각하께서 한 발자국
Would you like
건너시면
me to?
사상 처음으로 우리 땅을 밟으시는
If you-
미국 대통령이 되십니다.
If you actually
I'm
take
okay
a
with
step
that.
forward, you will be the
I'd be
first
very
U.S. president
proud.
to cross
I'd be
this
very
line.
proud to do that. Okay, let's do it. Come on.
여기 위에까지 오늘
It's worth appreciating just one more time, ladies and gentlemen, how wonderful it was. And remember, this only happened because of this. My button works. Ooh. So that's how it works, ladies and gentlemen. Let's rip the mask off. Let's tear the bark down on who has bark and who has actual bite. And how Donald Trump actually does things. Iran strikes back! Trump breaks his silence on Iran's missile strike. This was the news of the day. Iran launched missiles at military bases in the Middle East. There's a lot of military bases. These are all American bases in the Middle East. I mean, goodness gracious. Anyway, you can see this. It's pretty dramatic footage, right? You see the anti-missile barrages that were being fired at 10 ballistic missiles that were launched from Iran towards an American military base. In fact, the largest American military base in the entire Mideast, there in Qatar. They also launched a couple at a base in Iraq. Now, those who were following this closely said that Tehran has been telegraphing an off-ramp to what's been going on right now, that the U.S. doesn't need to respond, and that, in fact, this was probably agreed upon behind closed doors. Now, none of the missiles actually struck the base or hurt anyone, and according to all available reports, everything had been removed from the base. All of the planes, all the aircraft, all of the personnel were gone. Well, what does that indicate? President Trump was in the Situation Room at the times of the attacks, and now we've come to learn that Donald Trump knew about the attacks ahead of time. According to the New York Times, the Iranians reached out to Trump and his team and says, please, let us just send a couple missiles your way and this whole thing will be over. In fact, we'll tell you exactly when the missiles are going to be fired and where they're going to be fired, and we'll ask permission. See here. All the missiles were successfully intercepted. No one was hurt. Thank God. The New York Times reports that Iran coordinated the attacks on the American airbase with Qatari officials. Gave them advance notice. The attacks were coming to minimize casualties, according to 3 Iranian officials familiar with the plans. The officials said Iran symbolically needed to strike back to the U.S., but at the same time carry out a way that allowed all sides an exit ramp. They described it as a similar strategy to 2020, when Iran gave Iraq a heads up before firing ballistic missiles at an airbase after the assassination of the top general, Soleimani. This is exactly what happened when Trump yeeted Iran's top general. Well, ladies and gentlemen, wouldn't you know it, President Trump up on Truth Social literally seconds ago with this, a thing of beauty here, and possibly the end of World War III before it even starts. Iran has officially responded to our obliteration of their nuclear facilities with a very weak response, which we expected. We have very efficiently countered. There have been 14 missiles fired, 13 were knocked down. One was set free because it was headed in a non-threatening direction. I'm pleased to report that no Americans were harmed, hardly any damage was done, and most importantly, that they gotten it all out of their system, and there will hopefully be no further hate. I want to thank Iran for giving us early notice. Oh man, it's so good. Which made it possible for no lives to be lost and nobody to be injured. Perhaps Iran can now proceed to peace and harmony in the region, and I will enthusiastically encourage Israel to do the same. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Donald Trump, President of the United States of America. Ain't nobody does it like this, man. Nobody does it like this. Congratulations, world. It's time for peace. Yes! We freaking win. This is what we've been advocating for on this channel. So awesome. Congratulations, world. It's time for peace. This is President Trump's reaction to American bases being bombed by Iran. It's so perfect. I'd like to thank the highly respected Emir of Qatar for all he's done, seeking peace in the region. Regarding the attack today in the American base in Qatar, I am pleased to report that in addition, no Americans are being killed or wounded. Very importantly, there's also been no Qataris killed or wounded. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Donald Trump getting shared by J.D. Vance and by Pete Hegseth. What does that signal? That signals that the entire team is totally unified. Pete Hegseth and J.D. Vance, both honored veterans of the idiotic forever wars for regime change, boots on the ground, that were launched by the Bush Doctrine. That, of course, is the banality of everything that my generation hates. J.D. Vance and Pete Hegseth fought in those idiotic wars, and they are so proud. They probably wrote this, quite frankly. They probably assisted the president in writing this post. It's a wonderful thing. They're both sharing it. The internet is rejoicing right now. Trump calls for peace and harmony. Annapolina Luna with the prayer emojis up. Off-ramp, says Steve Bannon. Off-ramp. Plan trusted. Congratulations, world. It's time for peace, says the White House. This is the way. Trump just posted this. It seems like peace talks are on the way. Get that Ayatollah into the White House. I want to see that. I want to see that Oval Office meeting. Turn the lights down, Ayatollah. I want to show you something. It's Home Alone 2. Look, I saved the boy. It's Christmas. Just anything. Do it. You don't have the cards. You don't have the cards, Ayatollah. President Trump has announced and says, congratulations, world. It's time for peace. We didn't freak out. We didn't panic. We didn't disavow MAGA. We didn't warmonger for a foreign country. We didn't burn the ships. We let Trump cook and had confidence in his very smart team, and this will age like a fine wine, stay very, very frosty. This is exactly the take that we had. It wasn't a popular take over the last couple days, but it's true, ladies and gentlemen. If you need further evidence of where President Trump's thinking is actually on this stuff, please look no further than Matt Gaetz, who was on our show this morning, who said he called Donald Trump right before our hit and talked with him about where Trump's head is. And what Matt predicted 8 hours ago on the show just came true. Incredible, ladies and gentlemen. If you have the right sources and you're speaking to the right people and you understand the Trump Doctrine, then you won't be surprised and you won't be made a fool of, okay? It's good little life advice there. Anyway, here's Matt Gaetz, a message from President Trump. It's time for peace. How have those conversations gone with the president? And can you give us like a 30,000 foot like sort of perspective on this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really do readouts on that stuff, but what I could tell you is he is upbeat. He's very focused. He's very dialed in on this, and he is taking a lot of advice and input. And I think he's the best guy to synthesize it. The most important thing for your viewers, and I think for his administration, is he wants to make this a repeat of the Soleimani strike, not a repeat of the Iraq war. That is the central thing that comes out of our discussion, and we need the policies to be able to provide him that decision-making space.